like what we're learning now, and by penetrating insight into that point. How do you develop penetrating insight? By contemplating on that point again and again and again, and it's this benefits. To think about the this benefits again and again and again and again, to contemplate it, to recondition it, to put it into your mind, and slowly, definitely, promise your afflicted emotions that endanger others and yourself will become less. No doubt. No doubt, definitely. There are many examples of people like that. And the means of negative disposition with suffering may hold these rare ones dear, as if I found a precious treasure. What? People that make me suffer, people who are afflicted with emotions, people who are ugly and negative and mean, I've got to hold them dear as a precious treasure. What? What is that crazy monk telling me now? Now he's going to brainwash me into loving my enemies. No, I'm not going to brainwash you. I'm going to give you reasoning behind it. That statement shocks everyone. What? And some of us have a lot of enemies. So we need this. We need to hear it. We need to definitely hear it and practice it. And then when we practice it, the enemies from our point of view disappear. Becomes happier. When I see beings of negative disposition and suffering, might hold these rare ones dear as if I had found a precious treasure. Incredible. Please allow me to read you the commentary on it, which is just half a page. This verse could also refer to people afflicted with contagious diseases or fatal illnesses. Usually when we encounter people of bad nature, we try to ignore them instead of cherishing them, and we may advise others to stay away from such persons. We especially try to avoid people who are insane or have contagious diseases. We keep our distance from them. Even if somebody has bad body odor, we try to avoid them. We ask ourselves, why do we do that? Why do we want to avoid such types of people? Why? Why do we avoid these types of people? By doing this, we find that we are influenced by self-cherishing self-thoughts. Selfish thoughts, self-cherishing thoughts. We ignore or neglect those people because we hold ourselves too precious to mingle with them, and we fear that our precious self may get contaminated. Geshe Langri Tangpa advises us to reverse such actions and says that whenever we meet people who are ill-tempered, bad-mannered, or who have contagious diseases, we should treat them as if we are discovering a great treasure. When we see such people, let us show great joy at finding them and treat them like a treasure, especially if we are practicing Donglin, the practicing of exchange of giving your good things and receiving the bad of others. Bodhicitta or Donglin practice. If we truly want to tackle our self-grasping, these are the tools which to do it. We need to treasure these tools when we do Donglin meditations, especially when we do the meditation on equalizing and exchanging ourselves with others, which is Donglin. This action will be invaluable. We need to incorporate these meditations into this practice. When I see beings of negative dispositions and with sufferings, may I hold these. Okay, when I come across beings who are oppressed by negative emotions and overwhelmed by their sufferings, may I hold them dear as if I found the precious strength. I just recited the one I've memorized because I keep getting mixed up. When I come across beings that are oppressed by violent sufferings and overwhelmed by their delusions and bad-tempered and bad-natured, may I hold them as if I found the precious jewel. Why? Because they are more precious than a wish-granting jewel. Why is that? A wish-granting jewel can confer on you some material gains, but not enlightenment. A negative person or a person that hurts you can confer on you enlightenment. How is that? Because they give you the greatest opportunity to practice patience, compassion, and love. And they are the greatest tests to see if you have compassion and love, and if years of meditation and practice have brought any results. Because if you still see them and you feel like you'd rather not see them, what are you chanting on? What are you praying on? Who are you kowtowing to? Who are you praying to? You must be praying to a weird demon on your altar, and you put on the forehead ego, praying and prostrating to ego. So this is the meter in which to check if something disturbs you around you, if someone is doing something that disturbs you. If it disturbs you, it's not them. The fact that it disturbs you shows you that you are disturbed. We look at it from a positive and a more broader perspective or angle. People who are around you, people who do things around you that disturb you tremendously, and you can't help it but to make it known that it disturbs you or react back, shows that you are disturbed. Shows that your self-cherishing mind is so strong and so powerful and so pervasive in your body that you must let the other person know it bothers you, so don't do it. And then we might say, well, I have a good motivation. Oh, in America we say, can it, forget it. The very fact that it disturbs you tells you that you are disturbed. Disturbed by what? That your afflictive emotions are so strong. And your selfish mind is so strong. And your self-grasping mind, that mind that says, I'm important, me, myself, my happiness, my wishes, my concerns, my comfort is more important than you. So I'm going to tell you so. Your dress is ugly. You shouldn't wear that. The way you talk disturbs me. You shouldn't be doing things like that. In fact, 99% of the criticisms, nice or not nice, gentle or not gentle, that we direct at others are because of the self-cherishing mind. The great Atisha, being such an enlightened being, had one monk in Nalanda that hated him. It was an older monk that only saw bad points in Atisha, that criticized him when Atisha gave teachings. He would never attend. When he gave teachings, he would influence others and say, don't go to the teachings. He only saw faults and criticized Atisha over and over and over and tried to make his life difficult in the monastery by criticizing him, influencing others. If it was me, I would have dropped an H-bomb on that monk immediately. But because Atisha practiced these teachings, you know what he did? When the great goddess Tara told Atisha to go to Tibet and teach the Dharma, Atisha invited this monk with him to go to Tibet and sponsored his whole trip over. And do you know why? No, not because Atisha was a fruitcake. Because he wanted to practice patience and love. And this was the best person, because he didn't have enemies. He didn't have anyone that didn't love him. He didn't have people that praised him. Did not have people, because he had only people that praised him. There was only one person that hated him, that constantly criticized him, and that constantly wanted to debase him. So Atisha said, hey, what a golden opportunity. Come along with me to Tibet. And he was there for 13 years with his monks. And this monk criticized Atisha till the last day of his death. And Atisha did the wonderful prayers and ceremony and funeral for this monk to get a good rebirth. At that, I won't tell you what I would have done. In Tibet, they cut up the bodies when you are dead and mince it and mix it with a flour and feed it to the birds as a last act of merit. Hint, hint. I'd cut it up and I wouldn't feed it to the birds, I'd throw it over the hill. Can you imagine this? Atisha invited this ridiculous old crony of a monk. And this monk criticized Atisha. It took, I think, Atisha something like a year to travel over. It's not like here we book SIA and we fly over, ticket or no ticket, right? I mean, they had to walk across India, North India, Nepal, across the Himalayan mountains and down to central Tibet. It's far. It's cold. And at that time, there was a lot of warring factions and dangers and fighting. Sleeping outside in tents and all that stuff. It was not easy. You didn't take showers for days. Here, if you don't take a shower before Dharma talk, you're not comfortable. And this Atisha invited this old monk with him, sponsored his whole trip. Atisha asked his sponsors, his patrons, to pay for his passage, to give him money, give him new robes and supplies, and Atisha himself served this monk all the way. Can you believe it? And this monk only criticized him from beginning to end. Even when Atisha was giving teachings everywhere, this monk caused trouble. He never ever accepted Atisha as a good master. Ever. It didn't matter to him that every single sentient being on this planet accepted Atisha except for him. Atisha had become as famous as Buddha Shakyamuni in Tibet. In fact, we have teachings today, we have scriptures and lineages today because of Atisha. Even the Tara practice is because of Atisha. Offering. Atisha taught us how to make offerings to collect merit. Wealth bases. All of us run to different centers to get wealth bases. The first person to teach how to make wealth bases and to contain their energy to get wealth was Atisha. He was the one that wrote the original Langri, etc., etc., etc. He was the one that disseminated the monk vows in Tibet, which spread all over to Mongolia and Tibet. Because he was a pure monk, he made many new monks. This great Lama served and compassionately took care of this old crony of a monk that had nothing but ugly things to say about him to the last day of his life. Even when he died, Atisha took care of his funeral arrangements and personally prayed for his rebirth. Imagine that. And then when we turn the picture to us, when we turn it back to us, you know we ain't going to do that, and we'll think that Atisha is crazy for doing that. But when we look deeper, Atisha saw a golden opportunity to practice patience and love and compassion because there was no one that hated him. He found one person, he said, oh, it's my opportunity. I want to make sure that I destroy the last traces of my negative affliction so I can become a Buddha to benefit others. That was his motive for taking this monk. When I meet others who are oppressed by violence, sins, and sufferings and overwhelmed by their negative emotions, may I treasure them as if I had found a precious jewel, a precious treasure. That's why. Because they are a precious treasure. They offer you the opportunity to develop the points that you need to become a Buddha. Therefore, when you go to a Dharma center, when you go to the store, when you go to department stores and all that stuff, and you meet funny salespeople, funny waiters, you have funny relatives, you have funny friends, you have funny Dharma brothers and sisters, jump on them, hug them, love them, kiss them, and give them gifts and prostrate to them if you want to be a Buddha. You may think it's ridiculous, but I'm not saying actually physically do that from your mind. Oh my God, what an opportunity to practice the Dharma. Jump on them. Hold their hands and don't let them go. They think you're crazy. Who cares? You'll be a Buddha. That's what Tangpa did. That's what we prayed to him. That's what Atisha did. Think about it. So the next time you meet someone ugly and mean and rude and that only abuses you, you should have a little nasty smirk and say, how lucky I am. What a golden opportunity. All seriously, you should immediately pray in your heart and say, oh, I will practice these teachings and I will treat that person well. Of course, we can't treat our enemies and people that hurt us well overnight. But let's not keep using that excuse for not practicing this. How many years has it been? Very important. Very, very important. I ask you to please read over the stanzas every day as a daily practice. Incorporate it into your meditations and re-contemplate on it. If possible, if you cannot remember everything, perhaps you can get tapes from the center to go over and over again. I'm not trying to implant my ridiculous voice into your mind stream, but I want you to hear the words and not to forget. These practices are the core. If you practice this practice alone and nothing else, you can gain enlightenment. This is the most profound. This is the essence. This is the heart of Buddha's teachings. So I ask you, out of deep respect for all of you, not to say that you are not practicing or you should practice because you're bad, not on those bases, but these are so important and so meaningful for everyone. So I implore you and ask all of you to please read it over every day, and with time definitely will be memorized, and when a certain situation arises, that line will come into your minds, guaranteed, and then you will be able to practice and advance and advance and advance. So please don't go home, never look at it, never think about it again, and just comment that, oh, it was a good talk, it was interesting, blah, 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 blah. Those are of no use. Please practice. Please practice.